In Congress are going to say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's break with a lot of 40-year Republican conservative beliefs on things like trade or taxes or infrastructure. But he sure sounded opening notes as though he is going to do what he said he was going to do.
Amy Walter, Jeff makes a good point about what
he wants to do.
Right.
I mean, look, we've seen plenty of presidents who come in and say, we're going to shake up Washington, we're going to change Washington, and then Washington changes them. This is somebody who's coming in and saying, not only am I going to change Washington, I'm not going to abide by the traditional rules of Washington. You know, I get asked a lot about when are we going to see the first independent candidate elected president? And I think we are seeing the first independent candidate elected president. He is not an establishment Republican. Many members who are sitting up on that dais right now vocally opposed him throughout the course of the campaign. He sounds notes that are, quite frankly, progressive or liberal, that you could have heard from, I think as one of the folks up here said, from Elizabeth Warren. So this is a person who does not fit neatly into any box, but we also know how Washington works. And as one longtime Washington hand said, you know, you never beat the House, right? The House always wins. And that's the question. Can he beat the House? And by the House, meaning the people in charge, not just the House of Representatives. But you got to go up against an infrastructure of lobbyists, of a congressional structure, even though it's run by your own party, that has certain rules and timelines that don't fit neatly into the kind of timeline he wants. And, you know, for the first time in his life, he's got 535 bosses, essentially, who are going to control how he's able to get a lot of this done. It is not quite as easy. And P.S., even on, as we saw with the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, there are governors of his own party who are coming in and saying they've got to get work done.
As we watch former President Obama and Michelle Obama lift up into the skies to say their final goodbye, as at least in this fashion, to the United States Capitol, and eventually in the next hour or so to Washington as they make their way to California. David Brooks, how much of a goodbye is it? I mean, how much of a corner is being turned here?
Well, the big corner is being turned. I think we'll see a lot of Michelle and Barack Obama over the next few decades. They're eloquent, forceful people with strong opinions. They're not going to pull a George W. Bush and go off painting. So I don't think we're saying goodbye in that sense. But a really strong pivot is turned. And just to echo what Amy says, I'm just a little uncertain about how much this is actually going to happen. We know the intention, but he has very few deputies he's appointed in any of the cabinet agencies. His negotiators on Capitol Hill, as I understand it, as they try to